I just busted through a block. I'm so excited. I just busted through this huge block that's been bothering me for probably about a month now, and I wanted to share with you how I did it. Because it just happened, and I wanted to share it with you in the energy of it just happening, because it's something that anyone can do. You don't need to be trained in kinesiology or Reiki or anything. It's just about really starting to listen to that voice within and start to create space to actually hear it. So this block was, I'm writing 2 books at the moment, and I'd been sort of stuck on it probably about a month ago, and at the same time I actually stopped riding my bike, which now looking back was quite obvious, as to the connection between the two, which I just had my aha moment about. But back then I was buying into the stories of my ego about I haven't got enough time to bike ride, I've got too much else to do. We ended up having this case of fleas in our house, which drove me nuts and drove me to insanity because they were waking me up every single night for weeks, and we've finally done something about it and they're on the way out. But we're staying over at my dad's house at the moment, and my daughter had gone for her nap, and then I decided that while my hubby was out taking his run, that I would do a little bit of writing. I just had this urge to start writing again, which I've had on and off over the last few years, and I'd never had before that in my life. So anyway, I got my laptop out, I started writing, and it was flowing, like really, really easily flowing. And for me, it was just creating that space. I feel like the universe had kind of conspired to sort of force it to happen for me to realize, okay, I need to create more space for this in my life. So I started riding, and then my hubby came back from his run, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to go for a bike ride because I had the time. And I missed it. I haven't done it in 4 weeks, and it's such an important part of my life, doing physical exercise. And I'd been so tired because I'd been woken up at night time. My daughter's been teething, all these sorts of things. So I just felt too tired to do exercise, and that's fair enough. Sometimes, that happens. So anyway, I went out on my bike ride. Straight away, I started to get downloads. Straight away, I started to get all this information coming through. And for me, exercise has always been a really space for me to gain some mental clarity and some emotional release as well. And over the last month, I've needed that more than anything else, but I've been denying myself of that. And it was today that I realized why I'd been denying myself of that. So I've been writing this book sort of on and off. I think I started it maybe a year and a half ago. The idea was there, and I started writing it, opened the file, put my book name down, or I wrote my book, and then I started sort of typing little bits and pieces, but never really committed to it. And then I started to really get this urge a couple of months ago to really start writing it. So I really started writing it, and I think there's maybe 21,000 words in there at the moment after doing a bit of writing this morning. So I'm really committing to it at the moment. But for the last month, I felt stuck. And coincidentally, for the last month, I haven't been writing either. So what I actually asked was, what is the block, and why have I stopped writing, and why have I stopped writing? And as soon as I went out and started writing, I realized that the reason that I hadn't been doing my writing is because when I write, I get those downloads and I come back and I'm inspired to write. And the writing, the typing, the writing of the book, it all becomes so effortless and so easy. And what had stopped me doing that wasn't the tiredness, it wasn't the lack of time that I told myself it was. It was that I didn't believe that I should write a book. It was that I don't believe that anyone's going to read my book. It was that no one like me, people like me, don't write books, whatever that means. So there was this belief stuck there about, me not being good enough to write a book, who's going to read it, why waste my time writing a book when it's energetically coming through me, and the process of writing has been very, very easy. So these thoughts had come up, and that is the block that had stopped me from getting out on my bike and riding. Because when I ride, I physically release energy blocks, I release mental and emotional blocks. For me, that's something that really helps me release blocks. And then I can sit down and I can write. And now I know that previous to this month, I would always allow myself like 20 minutes after I'd get back from doing my cycling to sit down in the shed in my office and write, because I know that things will be flowing and it would just be so easy. And I know that I haven't written, or I haven't been writing much for the last month, because I've had this belief stuck about all the stuff that I just mentioned. So It was actually acknowledging what it is, acknowledging that I haven't felt good enough to write a book, acknowledging I haven't felt good enough to put it out there, acknowledging that, I feel like, what's the point? Who's going to read it? I've been making it about these external factors when really this whole process for me hasn't been about that at all. When I sit down and write, I'm not writing for anyone else. I'm writing for me. I let go of all the external needs for me to actually write, and I just sit there in that moment and I write because it's coming through me and it feels good and it helps me understand myself. So that writing for me has become a really powerful self-discovery tool. And the more I write about it and the more I write just for me, the easier it is. It's when I put those external labels and those external factors on top of it, of what I need it to be, that it becomes hard, and then it becomes, this kind of from the ego rather than from my heart and soul. So now I know that if I stop writing again, to start to inquire and go, okay, why do I feel like I don't have any time? Why am I making up these excuses about not having enough time to do it? Because I always have in the past. So now I know, for me, that writing and writing are so closely intertwined, and that, that writing for me unleashes those blocks and lets them go and allows me to write from a place of my heart and soul and from a place of just trying to understand myself more. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because I just experienced it. The penny just dropped. And the lesson in that is just ask. I constantly talk about listen to your intuition, create space for it. But if you're not asking any questions, you might not get any answers. So if there is something you feel stuck with, if there is something in life that you feel blocked, that is just not moving forward, or you feel very lacking in, ask the question, why do I feel this way? Or why is this happening in my life? Or why have I created this situation? Get out of that victim mentality. If I don't have enough, I haven't got enough time, this isn't working for me. And just ask, what can I do to shift this? How can I let this go? What do I actually want instead of this? And start to ask those self-inquiry questions. And then give yourself space and let them come in. They might not come in straight away. They might come in later that day, tomorrow, a few days later, a week later. Don't just let go of when you need them to come in, but start by asking the question of what you want to know more about. And then create some space and do something to let go of those blocks, to move that stagnant energy from you, because those answers will come to you so much quicker when you create the space for them to come in. Create the space between your thoughts. Create space physically by moving and shifting energy. Create space emotionally by, playing with essential oils, by letting things go, by journaling, by acknowledging things. Whatever it is that you need to do, start to create some space and allow those answers to come in. So I hope this has been helpful. I just thought I'd stop here and let you know what I've just experienced and how I work through my blocks by asking questions. That's one of the ways I do it. How that kind of unfolded over the last month, and how now I understand that, the cycling for me, it wasn't about those excuses my mind was telling me. It wasn't about the lack of time. It wasn't about anything else except for, that I don't feel good enough to write a book, and that's why I stopped writing. Which, on some levels might sound crazy, but that's how our bodies work. That's how emotions work. Emotions, if we don't release them at the time, we bury them, and then they start to affect other parts of our life and our world. So, the more it doesn't make sense, generally the more spot on it is. So I hope that's helped, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'll see you soon. Mwah!